The Bible Code, also known as the Torah Code, is a purported set of secret messages encoded within the Hebrew text of the Torah. This hidden code has been described as a method by which specific letters from the text can be selected to reveal an otherwise obscured message. Although Bible codes have been postulated and studied for centuries, the subject has been popularized in modern times by Michael Drosnin's book The Bible Code and the movie The Omega Code. Many examples have been documented in the past. One cited example is that by taking every 50th letter of the book of Genesis starting with the first Tor, the Hebrew word Torah is spelled out. The same happens in the book of Exodus. Modern computers have been used to search for similar patterns and more complex variants, and it has been published as a challenging puzzle in a peer-reviewed academic journal in 1994. Overview. Contemporary discussion and controversy around one specific steganographic method became widespread in 1994 when Doron Bitstam, Eliyahu Rips and Yoav Rosenberg published a paper, Equidistant Letter Sequences in the Book of Genesis, in the scientific journal Statistical Science. The paper, which was presented by the journal as a challenging puzzle, presented strong statistical evidence that biographical information about famous rabbis was encoded in the text of the Book of Genesis, centuries before those rabbis lived. Since then, the term Bible codes has been popularly used to refer specifically to information encrypted via this ELS method. Since the Bitstam, Rips and Rosenberg paper was published, two conflicting schools of thought regarding the codes have emerged among proponents. The traditional view of the codes is based strictly on their applicability to the Torah, and asserts that any attempt to study the codes outside of this context is invalid. This is based on a belief that the Torah is unique among biblical texts in that it was given directly to mankind in exact letter-by-letter sequence, and in the original Hebrew language. Equidistant letter sequence method. The primary method by which purportedly meaningful messages have been extracted is the equidistant letter sequence. To obtain an ELS from a text, choose a starting point and a skip number, also freely and possibly negative. Then, beginning at the starting point, select letters from the text at equal spacing as given by the skip number. For example, the bold letters in this sentence form an ELS with a skip of -4, and ignoring the spaces and punctuation, the word safest is spelled out. Often more than one ELS related to some topic can be displayed simultaneously in an ELS letter array. This is produced by writing out the text in a regular grid, with exactly the same number of letters in each line, then cutting out a rectangle. In the example below, part of the King James Version of Genesis is shown with 33 letters per line. ELSs for Bible and code are shown. Normally only a smaller rectangle would be displayed, such as the rectangle drawn in the figure. In that case there would be letters missing between adjacent lines in the picture, but it is essential that the number of missing letters be the same for each line. Although the above examples are in English texts, Bible codes proponents usually use a Hebrew Bible text. For religious reasons, most Jewish proponents use only the Torah. Code proponents Haralick and Rips have published an example of a longer, extended ELS, which reads, "Destruction I will call you, cursed is Bin Laden and revenge is to the Messiah." ELS extensions that form phrases or sentences are of interest. Proponents maintain that the longer the extended ELS, the less likely it is to be the result of chance. Critics reply, as in the Skeptical Inquirer deconstruction of 1997, that the longer ELS is in fact effectively nothing more than further increased number of permutations, employing a massive application of the look elsewhere effect. History. Early history. Jewish culture has a long tradition of interpretation, annotation, and commentary regarding the Bible, leading to both exegesis and eisegesis. The Bible Code can be viewed as a part of this tradition, albeit one of the more controversial parts. Throughout history, many Jewish, and later Christian, scholars have attempted to find hidden or coded messages within the Bible's text. notably including Isaac Newton. The 13th-century Spanish rabbi Bachar ben Asher may have been the first to describe ells in the Bible. His four-letter example related to the traditional 0 point of the Hebrew calendar. Over the following centuries there are some hints that the ells technique was known, but few definite examples have been found from before the middle of the 20th century. At this point many examples were found by the Slovak rabbi Michael Burvice Mandel and published by his students after his death in 1957. Nevertheless, the practice remained known only to a few until the early 1980s, when some discoveries of an Israeli schoolteacher Avraham Oren came to the attention of the mathematician Eliyahu Rips at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Rips then took up the study together with his religious studies partners Doron Witztum and Alexander Rotenberg, among several others. Rips and Witztum designed computer software for the ells technique and subsequently found many examples. About 1985, they decided to carry out a formal test, and the Great Rabbi's Experiment was born. This experiment tested the hypothesis that ELSs are the names of famous rabbinic personalities and their respective birth and death dates form a more compact arrangement than could be explained by chance. Their definition of compact was complex, but, roughly, two ELSs were compactly arranged if they can be displayed together in a small window. When Rips et al. Carried out the experiment, the data was measured and found to be statistically significant, supporting their hypothesis. The Great Rabbi's Experiment went through several iterations, and was eventually published in 1994, in the peer-reviewed journal Statistical Science. Prior to publication, the journal's editor, Robert Cass, subjected the paper to 3 successive peer reviews by the journal's referees, who according to Cass were baffled, though still skeptical. None of the reviewers had found any flaws. Understanding that the paper was certain to generate controversy, it was presented to readers in the context of a challenging puzzle. Witztum and Rips also performed other experiments, most of them successful, though none were published in journals. Other experiments. Another experiment, in which the names of the famous rabbis were matched against the places of their births and deaths, was conducted in 1997 by Harold Garnes, former senior cryptologic mathematician for the United States National Security Agency. Again, the results were interpreted as being meaningful and thus suggestive of a more than chance result. These Bible codes became known to the public primarily due to the American journalist Michael Drosnin, whose book The Bible Code was a bestseller in many countries. Rips issued a public statement that he did not support Drosnin's work or conclusions. Even Garnes has said that although the book states that the codes in the Torah can be used to predict future events, this is absolutely unfounded. There is no scientific or mathematical basis for such a statement, and the reasoning used to come to such a conclusion in the book is logically flawed. In 2002, Drosnin published a second book on the same subject, called Bible Code 2. The Countdown. The Jewish outreach group Aish HaTorah employs Bible codes in their discovery seminars to persuade secular Jews of the divinity of the Torah, and to encourage them to trust in its traditional Orthodox teachings. Use of Bible code techniques also spread into certain Christian circles, especially in the United States. The main early proponents were Yaakov Ramsel, who was a Messianic Jew, and Grant G. Frey. Another Bible code technique was developed in 1997 by Dean Coombs. Various pictograms are claimed to be formed by words and sentences using ells. Since 2000, physicist Nathan Jacoby, an agnostic Jew, and engineer Moshe Aharon Shak, an Orthodox Jew, claim to have discovered hundreds of examples of lengthy, extended ELSs. The number of extended ELSs at different lengths is compared with those expected from a non-encoded text, as determined by a formula from Markov chain theory.